Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another Torchwood review. And today's Torchwood review is none other than Exit Wounds. Jack follows Captain John Hart's breadcrumb trail, only to discover that John Hart is not in control. It turns out that his brother Gray has been controlling John Hart just so that he can get his revenge on Jack. And why does he want revenge on his own brother? Oh, that's right, because Jack left his young brother Gray on a planet with a bunch of cannibalist aliens who had taken over the world. When Jack and Gray were younger, on the Beauchamp Peninsula, Jack was supposed to keep hand in hand with his brother Gray. However, he lost sight of Gray as he let go of his hand and finds himself grieving over this for years, believing his brother to be dead and buried. However, it turns out Jack's brother did survive, but he became a cruel person. Much crueler than John Hart, much crueler than the Master. Yes, well, maybe not as cruel as the Master. I'm not being funny. I think the Master would just plunge him down a well. But that's besides the point. So Jack gets buried underground by his own brother and then has to be dug up years later. Turns out John was giving everyone some hints of where Jack could be. And little does Gray know, but Jack will be after him very, very soon. Jack goes back in time and finds himself crossing his own timeline, finding himself face to face with the two women who hired him for Torchwood. They don't quite believe what's going on, but Jack explains that the fact that something's happened with time is why they need to let him be buried somewhere deep under a castle in Wales. After being buried there for a few millennia and John Hart managing to break free of his bounds, the pair team up to fight Gray once and for all. However, during the process of this, Jack's team are finding themselves in a lot of turmoil. Gwen tries to keep the city of Cardiff under control. Ianto tries to do his best to help Owen shut down a bunch of power stations. However, what Ianto doesn't know is what's going to happen to Owen next. Owen gets stuck inside of a power station and gets killed due to the mass radiation. Toshiko Santo finds herself get shot, and so she tries to help herself by injecting herself with some sort of sedative to numb the blood, but it doesn't work, and the pair of them have one last phone call over the intercom as she screams for Owen to get out of there. Owen and Tosh don't want to live without each other, and so the pair of them die. Jack then gets his revenge by shooting his own brother and concealing him inside of Torchwood forever. Jack stands amidst of what's left of his group as he looks around and finds that there is only Gwen and Ianto. Torchwood has fallen, and it will fall further as the days come passing. So, what did I think of Exit Wounds? It's a very dark story for Torchwood, and I feel like that's what makes it so brilliant. To watch Torchwood have some casualties is even more brilliant. I feel like getting Ianto and Gwen to witness the deaths of their two kind of teammates is brilliant. Not only because they've all been so connected for so many years, but it's brilliant to really kind of give them a rest for a while. I also love the kind of irony of this kind of blood brothers sort of symbolism between Jack and Gray when Gray pushes him in the grave. Gray plays off this whole "I forgive you" lark at the beginning, only to show his dark and sinister side later. I also like how it gives us sympathy in this story for Captain John Hart. In Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and also in Fragments, we're believed to believe that John Hart is a heartless killer. But Hart didn't do this. This was all Gray. And the fact that that's what's happened makes this even more salt in the wound, especially for the story as we go along. The only one thing that's bugged me for years, and why I decided to write my own version of a Torchwood spin-off at one point, was the fact that Series 2 at the end of this kind of leaves off with the Weevils just infecting the city and running around amok. Now, it's quite clear that Yarnto most really cleaned up most of the street, but the fact that that was left ambiguous gave me a brilliant idea when I did make my own kind of fan series to really incorporate this idea of where did all the Weevils go and how long have they still been out. I feel like Series 2 at the end of it really gives lots of leeway for tons and tons of spin offs, and that's why I love Exit Wounds so much. It has so much depth, and for that reason, I give it a solid 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next Torchwood review. Until then, goodbye, stay beautiful, and have an incredible night, you beautiful people.